from the News Channel 5 network, this is Sportsline.
Good evening, Nashville. Welcome to Sportsline. It's the Wednesday extravaganza, back after a one-week hiatus. That's because our producer, Taylor Prey, was vacationing in beautiful Costa Rica. So he hasn't told me much about the trip yet. So obviously what happens in Costa Rica stays in Costa Rica. But it's good to be back with you. A lot going on, obviously, in the world of sports. SEC tournament going on right now. We got Missouri taking on Georgia in the first game over at Bridgestone Arena. Later tonight, it'll be Vanderbilt taking on Texas A&M. Of course, Vandy 0-18 in SEC play, so their final chance to get an SEC win this year and try to stay alive in the tournament for as long as they can. So we'll have an update on both games for you coming up on News Channel 5 at 10:22 in the Sports Report. Now, obviously, Tennessee, they will get to action in the quarterfinals on Friday. They, of course, getting the double bye. They'll wait to find out who they play as play goes on today and tomorrow. The Vols arriving earlier this evening here in Nashville, and they are getting ready to for what they hope will be a nice visit to Nashville, with certainly plenty of orange in the stands this weekend. A lot of Vols fans, I'm sure, will be there as UT tries to win the SEC championship and perhaps improve their seeding in the NCAA tournament. Don't forget, Selection Sunday is coming up this Sunday. We will have the NCAA selection show for you at 5 o'clock Sunday over on News Channel 5. You don't want to miss that. Of course, you'll find out where everybody's going. Did Belmont get an at-large bid? Did Lipscomb get an at-large bid? I would say at this point, Belmont probably has a better shot at getting that at-large bid than Lipscomb does. Of course, both teams losing their respective conference championship games last weekend. Belmont in the OVC, and of course Lipscomb in the Atlantic Sun tournament. So both teams. Belmont has a pretty darn good resume. If you were on, if you're listening to and watching Steve Lehman the last couple of days, not only here on Sportsline but also on News Channel 5 Sports. He laid out Belmont's resume, how good they are against Quad 1 and Quad 2 teams. They're a very good road record, 26 wins on the season. But, of course, OVC is normally a one-bid league. So with them losing in the championship game Saturday night to Murray State, more than likely we could see the Bruins have to settle for the NIT. Lipscomb, same story. So, but anyway, it all unfolds on Sunday evening, 5 o'clock, the NCAA Tournament Selection Show, one of the best sporting events of the year when the brackets get unveiled. And again, that'll be this Sunday night at 5 o'clock over on News Channel 5. And if you're a Tennessee fan, I'd love to hear from you tonight, 737-7767. What are the realistic chances that Tennessee can make a run in the NCAA tournament? I don't want to say forget the SEC tournament. It could improve their seeding if they make a run and win the championship game. Might bolt them from a 2 to a 1 or maybe to a high 2. But that doesn't really matter, right? The NCAA tournament is what matters. And Tennessee, of course, they were #1 in the country for several weeks. And it's going to be interesting to see where they're slotted, what their bracket looks like, and who they'll have to play potentially to get to the Final Four. And do you think that the Vols have a chance? I say they do because of their balance. Any number of guys can beat you on any given night, you know, whether it be Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone, who's had an outstanding season. You know, they've had Jordan Bowden. They've had all kinds of guys step up at any point in time during the season. They that loss to Kentucky kind of shook them up a little bit, but, you know, hopefully they've righted the ship. Of course, that loss a couple of days ago in the regular season finale is not something that, to Auburn, is not something that I'm sure bodes well with Tennessee. But they get a second chance to kind of right the ship here at the SEC tournament. So if you're a Tennessee Vol basketball fan, want to hear from you tonight. Also want to hear from Tennessee Titans fans. Of course, today, Wednesday, the first official day of the NFL's new league year. The free agency period is open. Teams can not only negotiate with potential free agents, but once those deals are signed, they can go ahead and announce them. As for the Titans, you're probably aware of what they've done this week in signing Adam Humphries, the outstanding slot receiver from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cameron Wake, the veteran, and I do mean veteran pass rusher from the Miami Dolphins. He is all of 37 years old, coming in to perhaps be a situational pass rusher, probably not an every down guy at his age. Re-signing Kenny Vaccaro, keeping him in the fold, which was to be a priority for the Titans. So he is back, and we'll see about Jonathan Cyprien. More than likely, he is gone. By the way, bottom of the hour, we'll have Turron Davenport, who covers the Titans for ESPN. He will join us by phone to kind of break down what's going on with the Titans, what they've done so far, and what they could do. Also, next segment, we're going to have some fun. We're going to bring back a friend of our show, Emmett Golden from ESPN Radio 850 in Cleveland, to talk about the big, huge trade last night as the New York Giants send star wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. to Cleveland in exchange for 2 draft picks, a first and a third, and safety Jabril Peppers. Of course, the NFL draft is here in Nashville starting April 25th, so a lot going on there. So we'll talk to Emmett and get a feel for what the vibe is like in Cleveland. But for Titans fans, were you looking for that big signing? Were you looking for the trade for OBJ or Antonio Brown? Were you looking for perhaps Earl Thomas or Tyrell Williams or one of these big-name free agents? Grade the Titans free agency signings so far. And again, we're basically just getting started here, folks. It's the first official day, and usually there's a big wave that lasts about a week or so, then a second wave of free agency, and then things kind of die down after that. You see a lot of stuff on Twitter from Titans fans as to who they would like to sign and who they would like to the Titans to pursue. But again, and I've said this before, and I've tweeted this before, and I believe I've said as much on this very program. Fans, I'm advising you, do not get too caught up into what happens in free agency. The majority of teams that sign a lot of free agents and spend a lot of money during this period, that means they were bad. That means that they have to drastically improve their roster. And sometimes you can catch lightning in a bottle with free agent signings. We've seen it before. But it's my common belief, and I believe it's the common belief of most people that are involved in the NFL, you build through the draft. You supplement and you complement your team with free agency, but you build your team through the draft. So John Robinson's, I think, had a pretty good track record so far in drafting. We'll see what he does this year with the Titans, I believe, picking 19th overall. We'll see if they make a move. They try to move up, move down. Any number of things can happen between now and the next several weeks before we actually get to the draft here in Nashville. So we're looking forward to that. So your Titans free agency questions and comments are welcome. 737-7767. Also, your Tennessee basketball questions and comments are welcome as they get ready to embark on March basketball with the SEC tournament again this weekend. They're the 3rd seed. They'll play on Friday against an opponent to be determined, and we'll see how far they go in the NCAA tournament. One of the cool stories this year in college basketball, particularly in the SEC, was Ole Miss, coached for the first time this year by former Middle Tennessee head coach Kermit Davis, who had so many great years in Murfreesboro. Made the difficult decision to leave Ole Miss, to leave Middle Tennessee and to go coach at Ole Miss. Of course, he's a Mississippi native, and he led the Rebels to 20 wins this year, and he was named SEC Coach of the Year yesterday, probably because Will Wade's in a little bit of trouble right now, but a well-deserved honor for Kermit Davis. Of course, the Rebels will play tomorrow as they open SEC tournament play tomorrow against Alabama. Ole Miss, the 7 seed, and Alabama, the 10 seed. So we were able to catch up with Coach Davis, the former Blue Raider coach, now the coach of the Ole Miss Rebels and the SEC Coach of the Year.
thing. I mean, did you think, taking the job, that you guys were just going to come out like gangbusters right out of the gate?
No, I didn't. You know, I had a good feel. You know, I looked at Terrence Davis in my first press conference, and I said, TD, who's meant so much to Ole Miss for a long time, is a Mississippi kid, and I said, it'd be unfair to you to talk about rebuilding. And I got he and Bree and Tyree in, and I said, with your guys' experience, how come you guys can't be as good as any backcourt in the SEC? And they kind of took that to heart. And as you guys know, you follow basketball, if you got good guard play, you've got a chance to be competitive. And so they've done a really, really good job. Even late in the season, we've been so dadgum competitive against all the really, really good teams. So I'm really proud of them.
How important, Kermit, was their response to the coaching change in order to get the rest of the team to really come on board?
Yeah, you know, Parrish, when you take a new job, they're unsettled locker rooms. The one I left in Middle, the one you take at Ole Miss. And you go to jobs and you hear different things about this kid's leaving, he's going to leave, he's not staying, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to have relationships quickly as you're forming a team with your recruiting. But when I met with those guys individually, I felt good about them. I just felt good. You know, TD had his name in the draft, but along the way, everything he told me was true, and I didn't know him very well, you know. And I said, just don't do anything, just don't make a mistake, just make a good choice. And then he came back, and he felt good about that. So that was the first big thing. And then those other guys came back, and then our trip to Canada was probably the best thing that happened to us. We left a lot of really bad basketball in Canada, and so we learned a lot, and it helped us a bunch.
They both said how wide open this tournament is. They think
it is,
that you guys and anybody else could make a splash.
It is. I mean, our side of the bracket's like going to a Final Four. I mean, you start thinking about it. Alabama is one of the most talented teams in our league, and then it's Kentucky, Tennessee. It's almost like going through a Final Four. And but you're right. I think they say that based on our game against Tennessee when Grant Williams hit kind of a last-second shot to beat us. As you were there with the Kentucky game, how competitive that was. And you're right. I think there's probably 5, 6, 7 teams that could win the tournament.
You know, there's so many good coaches in this league. How rewarding is it for you to be in your first year named Coach of the Year?
Yeah, because it really is. You start looking around college basketball, I mean, it's as elite group of coaches as I've ever gone up against, just night in and night out, and the job they do on the floor, how well they recruit. So it is. It's quite an honor to be recognized among that group.
Going through your first slate in the SEC, what's your takeaway?
It was everything and more. I mean, I'm serious now. I've grown up in it. I mean, my dad was assistant coach in it in 1965, so I've followed it my whole life. I've seen every phase of it in those years, and it's the best it's ever been. I mean, like you said, the commitment to basketball, the fan interest around the league. When you go to Georgia and they've won one game and they sold the place out, and the quality of coaches and recruiting, the length of the league is what I was just kind of taken away at, the length at the rim and how athletic everybody is. So and when John Calipari and Bruce and the guys who've been in it for a long time say, Kermit, it's never been like this, then you know how good the league that is, top to bottom.
Looking forward.